Right on.
So it's all out there. I can't edit anything. Hello, everybody. Right. Thank you so much for coming to the Happy Debating Atheists Part 3. And this is the one where we have, and I'm super excited about this because I'm actually a big fan of this show. We have the celebrity, Shawn Yankey from Conspiracies and Chill. So, hey, what's up, man? Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on and calling me a celebrity. That's awesome.
Hell yeah, man! I love your show, man. I mean, you know, you're a celebrity to me, because I watch you all the time.
I try. I put a lot of work into these little shows, and I like the conspiracy ones. My baby.
Oh yeah, that is, and they are great. You do great little videos. I like the last one I was just on about the Battle of Los Angeles. Holy shit! I had no idea that even existed. That was awesome.
Did you look into it after?
I did, and you know, and it was fascinating to see how many people were involved in that thing that happened. I thought it was fascinating. So
that's what I like about the show, is because I often do things like that are real, and that you can look into because it's fun, and then it opens your mind, and maybe you'll look in other rabbit holes with me.
Right. Yeah. And I love doing that. And like it was, we were just kind of talking a little bit before the feed started. That I don't, you know, I'm an atheist, I'm a skeptic. I don't take anything as to being real, like I believe that it's actually true until, you know, I have sufficient evidence to warrant belief, you know, and so I don't, you know what I mean? But so I don't necessarily believe all the conspiracies, but I love reading about them. I love having a good time, like just chatting with people about them and, you know, exploring different ideas of what things could or could not be. I just find it fun. You know what I mean? It's just a fun thing for me, you know?
It is fun. And there's a lot that I like that I don't follow either, that I get into. Like, I like listening to David Icke talk about reptilians.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is so fun. Yeah.
He's a great speaker.
Right? He actually is pretty good. I've watched a couple talks by him. And while I'm convinced that he's totally off his rocker in a lot of ways, he's still, it's a fun concept to think about. You know?
He's entertaining. He makes it a good time. So.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of, and tell me what you think about this, but I kind of think that a lot of conspiracies are almost like the urban legends of our time, right? And one of the things that makes urban legends so fun is the fact that you believe that they are real. You know what I mean?
Well, in a way, kind of. I know that a lot of fans of my show are going to be mad if I don't correct you, because a lot of the conspiracies that we are talking about, that we get into on the show, we're serious about. But there are fun ones, like I would say maybe Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's
or the
fun.
Reptilians, or I've covered Flat Earth.
Oh God,
that one's
almost problematic.
There are ones that's tongue in cheek, and then I'm like, you know, we're having a good time. But there are ones like 9/11 where I'm serious.
Right, and see, and 9/11 kind of skirts the line for me anyway of like one of the ones that becomes problematic, or it becomes like it's fun. You know, it's between fun and problematic. Like, okay, for example, the fact that the Parkland shooting, you know, was a hoax. I feel like that's harmful. The one that where the pizza gate, where they're raping kids at the bottom of the basement of a pizza place that didn't have a basement, that's problematic. Like, that's harmful. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of skirts the line.
In that one, though.
What's that?
There's truth in between the lines. In Pizzagate, there was a lot of truth. There wasn't truth that there was a sex ring running out of the basement of Comet Pizza.
Okay.
That was misleading.
That was misleading, right?
Sex rings, like the one exposed with Epstein, that do exist.
Right, but you see how, like, when you get it wrong, it discredits when it's right?
Well, yeah, the main focus did get completely twisted. I'm not saying I wasn't correcting the entire statement, just the one part where there is truth in there. So things did get exposed.
Like the concept of the ring or whatever, right?
It comes to people's mind more and brings it to the surface. Isn't that good? That there is exposure coming. There is that going on. It may not have been with Hillary Clinton's buddies,
right?
But it does happen.
It's
a huge problem.
I'm sure that, and I'm sure that you're right, you know, because, I mean, we know for a fact that, like, the Epstein Island, you know, of child rape island.
You're saying that you think they're dangerous.
I do, and to a certain extent. Like, I think that you need to keep these things sort of at an arm's length. Like, hey, I know this is out there, but I don't have to accept it as a belief until it's warranted.
What I would counter that with is that in that mindset, you're allowing everything to take place because you're not going to question it until it's been proven to you without a shadow of a doubt. You know it exists.
Right.
You've told me that you know that there is sex rings and underage sex trafficking and all that stuff goes on. So, but you won't look into it until I can prove to you, like for example, Bill Clinton is buddies with Jeff Epstein, and Jeff Epstein was running a sex ring. And until I can make that connection for you, you won't allow me to follow that rabbit down the hole. These kids are in danger in the meantime.
Yeah, and that's kind of what brings the urgency, right, to the problem. And so the problem with that, what you're saying, I actually agree with you on a lot of on a specific level. But the other thing is we can't be so urgent about it that we're arresting people that aren't guilty, or we're accusing people that aren't guilty. You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes it kind of difficult, right? Because we need evidence. Yeah. That's why we have the innocent until proven guilty.
Did you read the WikiLeaks that were involved in the conspiracy that you had mentioned, the Pizzagate timeline? They were tied into that.
I did not. No.
With the handkerchiefs and the weird messages and the maps, the references to maps and the constant talking about pizza and hot dogs. Like, you know how it got its name, right?
No, I don't actually.
Pizzagate, how it got its name. Well, I know it all got centered around Comet Pizza.
Yeah.
No, I know we didn't intend to take this turn, but people would be mad at me if I didn't correct you.
That's fine.
Because there's a lot of truth in Pizzagate.
Yeah, okay.
It's just, if you focus on Comet Pizza, then it looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But if you look at the WikiLeaks, which have never published anything that's not true, and if you look at the fact that we're actually talking about sex trafficking, not Comet Pizza. Comet Pizza is a distraction to get you to look at how crazy that is. And they're a sick joint to begin with. Have you ever looked into Comet Pizza?
I have not.
They had an Instagram that was really twisted, and they have a lot of really weird artwork in the building for a pizza place. It's weirdly sexual, and then it's a weird joint. But it happens to be popular among a lot of elites, and that doesn't mean a thing. That whole place is a distraction in that story. But there is truth in that story, is what I'm saying.
That the concept exists, that there are people.
But there is crazy people like the guy that went with a gun to Comet Pizza, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, because, I mean, because here's the thing, he didn't have the evidence necessary to warrant a belief, and he went in there anyway, claiming that he knew exactly what was happening, and that I feel like is the problematic part of
that brings you into the rationale that would that guy have done something stupid anyway? Like, did he just need to be pointed in a direction?
And you could be correct about that. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. The fact that, you know, if he wasn't led by this, he might have been led by some Freddy Krueger movie and try to recreate that. I don't know.
You could go to extremes in anything, and they did go to extremes. You're right. People did.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and it's just but for me, it's like if we're gonna land, for me to be like in things like that, like you said, like child sex rings, that's upsetting. You know what I mean? That drives a lot of emotion, right?
Oh yeah.
And so when we're talking about these things, you know, it can cause people to really get riled up. And I understand, like, if it's true, you know, or if there is this thing, then it completely warrants that type of emotional response. But if it's not, then that emotional response is extremely dangerous. I mean, that's why you got people with the Parkland shooting saying that the Parkland shooting didn't happen, and then they're harassing the parents of kids that died, you know, and they're really upset, and now they're having these people. Goes on. Oh, that's so. I mean, that's really sad. You know that these people got to be harassed, even though they lost their child. I don't know. So I mean, there is, and again, when it comes to like the reptilian, I love reading about that stuff. I love like watching videos on the reptilian humanoids and stuff like that. Like it's just fun, you know. But I don't really take it very seriously, and so those are kind of in the spectrum, like we were talking about, of conspiracies that wouldn't be taken very seriously. But when we start because like I said, with the urban legend, the more fun it is the more real you feel it. In your heart, like that. You got to check your back seat because the dude might be in the back seat with the hatchet. That's what makes it so. Oh, it's scary. So that's so fun. You know what I mean? And it's like when we do that with things that are like the Parkland shooting or with other things like that, it can be very dangerous. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I get you. I gotta be careful how much I agree. We can get on another 30-minute tangent.
No, that's all right, man.
There's gray area all over what you just said, but you are right.
Yeah, and
on the surface,
right?
But
okay.
There are problems with a lot of events. No, I mean, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah,
There's reasons why people are skeptical of what they're told and shown. And even in real events, they use crisis actors, that throws people off when you can identify the same lady from 3 different press conferences. You give people ammunition.
See, and I remember the crisis actor thing where
they even advertise for these people, and they use this. There's a specific lady that's in 3 different school shooting events in the news coverage. Why are they using fake people? Don't do that.
I'd really have to look into it enough to be able to determine that these are, because I remember I actually posted back in the day. I remember posting a meme, and it was like, "Oh, this girl was at all 3 shootings."
Yeah,
you remember that meme?
It's happened more than once.
And then I posted it up, and then it was actually kind of funny now that I think about it, because I was a Christian at the time. But one of my Christian friends pointed out, they're like, no, actually, this has been debunked. They're 3 different women, and they all kind of look similar.
They don't admit it, but she looks just like the same person, and they
look very similar. Yeah,
SAG cards basically. The ones that make a living doing it, like crisis actors.
That just seems so odd, and I get the.
But I'm just saying the media and then the government itself does deceptive things and has deceptive practices, which makes people, they for a fact do, and they get caught all the time. So then people get their suspicions up, and you should, because there's shady shit going
on. Chris Cole, this debate's on like conspiracies and things, and then we're gonna go into the God belief in a bit. But that's what it's about. Sorry, they were just asking.
No, you can go into God right now if we want. You can kind of put it into anything. We can switch into any gear. I didn't mean to get so sidetracked.
No. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Was us just have a conversation about stuff like this, and the fact of going from the one side of the spectrum of where it's it's fun and it's cool to think about. Like, I mean, for example, the what we were just talking about the other day, the damn it, I can't think of it. It's where you remember things differently.
The Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect, yeah. And
that's one of my favorites.
That's so fun. Like, that's a cool conspiracy that's fun to think about, and it's a fun time. Like, there is no possible damage that could come out of that, right? So I enjoy those type of
just cool memes, basically.
Yeah. And it is really actually, and the fact that they're like, oh, that means they changed the Matrix, and that's like why the Matrix can't really keep up with the different symbols, to the level of that our brains can comprehend them, and it's fun. I like that.
Right.
I do. I think those are fun. But then in other instances, it actually becomes kind of harmful. When it comes to things that are very real and very tragic, and unfortunately, a lot of the conspiracies tend to come out of a lot of tragedies, right? I mean, they're these mass shootings, or if they're the 9/11, and that's what we'll go into next. Is 9/11 is a terrible tragedy, but it happened. You know what I mean? And so it opens up this gate for kind of like, well, why did the buildings fall so perfectly? Why did this happen? So I don't really. Why did this other building fall down? On its own, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I just feel like there's a fine line there, and just to be careful, just for the viewers out there. Like, hey, I I love conspiracies, but I'm I do have a level of skepticism for all of them. Not to mention everything. I'm not absolutely certain I'm not fucking dreaming right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be absolutely certain about this. You know what I mean? If I can't even tell you for a fact that I'm not dreaming, you know,
Right.
we have to keep our own minds in the same level of scrutiny that we do for everything else, right? And our own minds could be mistaken, and I that's just
and you really only perceive what you're able to perceive anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I have. That's why like people like try to do they do these debates and stuff, and where they start trying to, well, how can you, if you can't be absolutely certain, like what else, like can you be certain of anything? And it's sort of like, dude, I do the best I can with what I got. You know what I mean? That's it.
Right. Right.
Right. But let's talk about the 9/11 for a second. So you said you really enjoy, or not enjoy, that sounds weird. You really enjoyed 9/11.
On it, probably.
No, that's terrible.
No, I don't. I didn't hear what you said because I talked over you on accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I might have fixed it. But no, 9/11 is the one that I probably am the most well versed on. Is the best way we could probably say it.
Okay.
Because it is a painful event, but I've spent. I mean, from the moment it happened, I was obsessed with it. And the only other thing that ever got me like that was probably the Titanic and maybe JFK. But
JFK, yeah, that was a big one.
when the 9/11 event happened, I was glued to it, and from the very beginning, and I believed the official story at first.
Right.
I came to the truth later on, and I believe that the truth is it was a controlled demolition and whole operation carried out by the CIA and the Mossad.
The Mossad.
And I think I can make a case for that.
Okay. All right.
I could talk about it at all in any legs, and there's a lot about it that I'm pretty well versed on it. I could talk off the top of my head about it.
Huh.
So even though I'm not super prepared, I think we can get into pretty much anything you want about 9/11.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I remember seeing a video, and of course now that I'm a skeptic, I'm more like, I don't know if that's true, you know. But there was this, there were like all these deaths after the fact of people that worked in the building or had some knowledge of the building, you know, and you know what I mean, like, and saw something potentially.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one guy's name right now, but yeah.
They all died from like a black, like a SUV or something ran them over or some shit, or suicide. That was it was like, that's the way they do things, right?
Suicides and heart attacks, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I heard about things like that.
And so that, yeah, it did. For me at the time, anyway, I was very convinced that based on that one video. Of course, I didn't go back and do any research or anything like that to figure out if they actually had died or if they even worked in the building or what. But
right.
At the time, it was very convincing. They had the what's that movie? The Requiem for a Dream soundtrack going on. Man, that music's compelling in and of itself. But,
if you have that in your video, it's going to get 1 million hits.
Right? Yeah, that's some good music. I actually really like that music. But now I'm like, sort of like, now that I kind of, it's some time has passed, right, since it happened. And we kind of know now that I kind of see why people see it that way, because we definitely took advantage of that as far as our government goes. And what's his name? The vice president. I can't think of
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. Thank you. He see, I've been doing too many of these talks, and my mind's
made a ton of money off of it.
He did. He made a shitload of money. I mean, he got the oil. And it was his oil company that basically was able to obtain the oil
as well. Yeah, and then his private military company as well benefited greatly.
Right. Yeah, and so I mean, as far as I'm concerned, is what I understand, the actual story goes, the way it happened was, this thing happened. We may have had an idea that it was going to happen, right? And then we took advantage of it so that we can get the oil and blame the wrong people for it, right?
At the absolute bare minimum.
And that's almost basically what I've just said right there is demonstrable through a shitload of evidence. But you know what I mean. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to just stop there, and that's sort of the fun of conspiracies. You can sort of keep going from that, and be like, no, they planned it. You know,
there's physical evidence that there's a controlled demolition involved in the situation, so that makes pre-planning proven too. See, because buildings don't fall like that.
You got physical evidence? There was physical evidence?
Building 7 is physical evidence. They admitted to free fall. They had to admit that Building 7 fell at free fall speed into its own footprint. And nothing hit that building. There was no explosions. It was office fires. And a steel frame building has never, in the history of steel frame buildings, collapsed from office fires. Right. Ever. Before or after.
But I mean,
there was a tower in England that burnt, a 47-something story building that burnt like a torch for 12 hours, and it was still standing when it was over with. And it looked like a firecracker. They don't fall like that. And the first two shouldn't have fell like that.
I mean, and I've gone through.
But one is controlled demolition, because a controlled demolition takes a long time to set up, to take down a building. And even Larry Silverstein said they pulled that building. Now, to pull it means to bring it down. With controlled demolition, that takes weeks to set up. You got to pre-plan that. You can't do it in hours.
Right.
And in the interview, when he said it, he goes, well, there was such a large loss of life, and we figured we couldn't save the building, so we thought the best thing to do would be to just pull it. So you can't do that on the spur.
So let me ask you this. Could it have been the planes hit the buildings? They were afraid of the way that the building would fall down. If it fell down to the side, that could do a shit ton of damage to a lot more people. I mean, the people in the building they're pretty much fucked, you know what I mean? But if the building fell to its side, it would land on all these other buildings, it would knock down all this other stuff, it would kill all these other people. Do you think maybe...
No one expected those buildings to fall. It never crossed anybody's mind. It's never happened. They were built for that. They were built to be hit by multiple airplanes.
They were built to be hit by airplanes?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why it had a mesh structure on the outside. It was built to withstand multiple impacts.
From a plane that big?
From the largest plane that was available at that time, which is around the same time, the same size of the planes that hit the towers.
And I feel like that's odd that they would plan to make a building to be hit by a 747, massive commercial.
The Empire State Building was hit by a plane.
Wasn't it a smaller plane?
It was a smaller plane, but yeah, it was hit by. You're building for any kind of situation. It's 1,300 feet tall.
Sure.
I don't know why they did it, but I can give you some links to some videos of the engineers talking about designing it to take multiple impacts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and
I'm just saying it was in the design of the building. So, but we can leave that off the table if you're.
No, it's fine. I like I said, I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm just here to have conversations.
But the firefighters, even the ones like the interviews with the ones from the event, and even the ones that will talk about it now, will tell you no one expected that building to fall. They didn't think that was in the realm of possibilities. And then the fires weren't even burning hot enough in the building. They wouldn't have, you know what I mean? They would have gotten out of there. The ones that survived talk about how they didn't expect them to collapse.
Right. From what I understand, based on the physicists, that went and evaluated what happened, it wasn't necessarily that the fuel burned hot enough to melt the metal, because I know jet fuel doesn't burn that hot. I know that argument, but it wasn't necessarily that. It was the fact that back in the 90s, we used to love paper. We did a lot of, we had paper, everything, and it lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. And and it got hot enough, not so much to melt the metal, but to warp the metal. And that was what caused the destabilization of the building until it, eventually collapsed. That according to the
collapse theory. Are you using the official 9/11 narrative?
It's
from the official story.
And it was based
on something that's come out since.
It was based on physics majors and things that went back and reevaluated it because of the
what did they say? Did they stick with the pancake collapse?
It was
the theory that the upper structures hit the bottom structures and it kept going down, and that's why it collapsed to dust.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, exactly. Basically.
But how did they explain the physics in 60 undamaged floors collapsing to dust from the weight of 30? And why would it go through the path of most resistance and go right into its own footprint when that's against all the laws of physics? Why wouldn't it? The Tower 2 got hit around the 70th floor. And when it starts to fall, you can watch it in the video, it's tipping over. So why would it self-correct and then pull itself down into its own frame? Why wouldn't it keep falling and fall into that bank building?
Right, and I think that's one of the things we don't, because it's almost like if you have say a house of cards or something like that, you build it and it starts to tip over. It doesn't fall over; it falls down. Like these things on that level, they're a lot lighter than you think as far as like what you're looking at. And so all these individual things, they start to fall down, each piece individually. You know what I mean? And it's like when it comes
15 seconds though.
I know.
The whole structure comes into its own footprint in 15 seconds. How does that happen?
Yeah, and I get it. I get that it, to look at it and to think about it, is.
Oh, really? I'm asking you seriously. I want to know how you rationalized it with yourself. Like you've come to terms with it. You accept that it did do that. But how? What do these physicists say? Because I watch a lot of physicists that tell me that it's impossible. And sometimes I leave things that are like math that's outside of my realm of possibility to understand, to people that are smarter than me. And it just makes sense. Like if you're hitting an object every time you come down a floor, you're hitting an undamaged floor, you're going to slow down. How do you fall in 15 seconds?
I mean, I feel like we'd need for me to conclusively
smarter
be able
people,
to answer. Well, we need to be able to recreate the exact same thing.
But when they try to recreate it, they can't do it. They tried not to even include an explanation of how 7 collapsed. They didn't want to talk about 7. They left 7 out of the official document.
7 was a lot smaller, right?
47 stories.
47 stories. So it was significantly smaller than the other
About
buildings.
half the size, yeah.
And if if it's burning for that amount of time and there's no firemen or anybody that's really concerned with that building because they're all into some other shit, I don't know. I get what the narrative. If fire broke out, nobody's there to stop it, and then it goes.
I don't think anybody has a problem with the building even collapsing. I think they have a problem with the way it collapsed.
The way it collapsed. The fact that it fell.
You've seen 7 come down, right?
No, I actually haven't. No, I didn't realize there was a video.
It kind of would need to be something that we're looking at for me to show it to you, but it looks exactly like controlled demolition.
But it did happen.
It falls very similar to the first 2, just right down into its own footprint. And if one of them is a controlled demolition, all 3 of them are.
I mean, I feel like that's
I'm just looking at it like if I was solving a murder crime,
right?
And this hit was taken, I can prove this hit was planned, and it's part of a 3-hit job. Wasn't all 3 hits planned? Don't I have to assume that at that point? I have to admit that 7 fell at free fall, and free fall is impossible unless you get everything out of the way. Because you're falling through something. It's got to all come down into itself. It's going to hit resistance the whole way down.
Right, and these are kind of physics.
It's very complicated to take a building down like that.
And we're not really familiar too well with the physics of buildings falling down. I mean, I want to agree with you the fact that they can't do that. It's impossible. But without the knowledge of how, like,
common sense, like you're going to hit resistance.
But common sense told everybody that the Earth was the center of the universe and that the sun was going around the Earth, and they were actually right. I mean, they actually had the best evidence they could to come to the conclusion that they had, but they just didn't. They lacked some very crucial information, right? So something can use common sense and you can see something, but it might be a bit more complicated than what we're seeing. You know what I mean? Right. Or it might be more complicated than what we're thinking, which is the whole point of conspiracies, right? I mean, you're thinking, oh, it looks like this, but it could actually be this, right? But it seems
but that bothers me though, because it's really smart people will throw out the laws of physics when it comes to this conversation because they don't feel like they're strong enough versed in it. You kind of are though. Like you watch two planes fly into buildings like a hot knife through butter. Did that make sense to your eyes?
I mean,
like to just go through, they're aluminum planes, like to just not even any resistance.
Well, I've seen plastic straws go through signs, street signs, dude. Like I've seen plastic straws from McDonald's go through street signs during hurricanes. So the weight, the amount of speed is also a factor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, I've seen things that seem impossible. That seems impossible for a plastic straw to go through a fucking street sign. But I've seen it with my own eyes during a hurricane. You know what I mean? So things that we don't understand are possible. And they're things that we would need some further explanation on, with probably somebody who's much more versed in the subject and has much more research and education and things like that could probably explain, which that's exactly what I've seen when it comes to the buildings that fell. These experts that came in were like, dude, yeah, that's weird looking and it's crazy looking and it seems like it's just a demolition, but it actually makes sense with how much weight the buildings held. With the fact that they fell straight down. But, and just other things, I'm just saying.
What hit the Pentagon? Do you think it was that airplane? You think he pulled off that maneuver?
I'm not actually sure. Like, I know that it hit like a part of the Pentagon, right? It was just like the one
he
side.
Hit the first floor. Oh my God, the Pentagon's one of the most amazing parts. He pulled off a 330-degree descending corkscrew turn at what they say is about 500 to 600 miles an hour and flew just feet off the ground on a plane that's not designed to do that. This is not a fighter jet. This is a commercial airliner. Hit 5 light poles on his way in and hit it around between the first and third floors.
Huh.
You buy that? Like an amateur pilot did that.
And he
couldn't even fly a Cessna.
Let me think about this. So he came in at a 90-degree angle.
Straight. He came down 330-degree turn.
I don't even know what that.
You have to look at it visually on a piece of paper. Almost a complete 360. So while he's descending, he's doing a 330 corkscrew turn. Seriously, to hit it level, almost at the first floor, like really low to the ground. And low enough to hit 5 light poles on his way in.
Huh. So, okay. Yeah, that does sound pretty...
it's amazing. It's one of the most fantastical
amazing
stories in the whole story of 9/11.
Right.
And it's a huge smoking gun. 7 in the Pentagon and Shanksville are all smoking guns. And if you have 3 of those in the same incident, like how many coincidences could there possibly be in a crime before a detective would lose his shit? Like, detectives don't even believe in coincidences. It's just this many things can't line up and have this many problems in the story.
Right.
And then you wonder why anybody wants to know why there's not a real investigation almost 20 years later when we've been carrying out the agenda of this for the same amount of time. Right. Like you said already, we're in 8 wars. We're all over the Middle East.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
What's been done in the name of 9/11 is outrageous, and everybody still supports it. Everybody's still afraid of terrorism, even though it's proven that we invented Al Qaeda and we were funding ISIS.
Well, we didn't invent Al Qaeda. I mean, we gave them weapons in order to
Tim Osman
stop another threat.
CIA code name. He worked for the CIA. We created them in the Cold War. So to help them fight against Russia. So
and then they and then
we created them. We even named them Al Qaeda. That means the base.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, we like I said, we armed them in order to take out a threat, and then they became eventually a threat to us. And that was that was a bad,
According to the 9/11
and
official
it's an
narrative.
unfortunate series of events. You know what I mean? That's
Well, I mean, if you kept bombing me and killing all my family and my friends, I'd probably start hating you too. That's how we create terrorists.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
If you think about it in the grand scale, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, I hate thinking that, but I can't. Part of me, it's almost like that when I was not becoming a Christian anymore. Where I was like, no, don't think about that. Don't think about that. And that's. But I do actually agree with you. I kind of feel like we're the world's bad guys. Like, honestly,
and most of the world sees it that way.
Right, and they're not wrong, in a lot of ways. We give this altruistic bullshit as like our reasoning, but fuck, we use shit to convince ourselves of reasoning that is ridiculous most of the time.
Gold, oil, and drugs.
I mean, fucking, it shows the manipulation as well, because like, look at the Jeff Sessions, like as far as like coming out and saying, hey, here's why we're separating families at the border. Oh, because a Bible verse says that you need to not you need to obey your government, so gotta separate the family.
Out of their damn mind. I mean, come on.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a manipulation tactic.
Is a shit show. I'm sorry, I keep cussing. It was twice now.
No, dude, you can fucking cuss, dude. I'm not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It is though. I think it's all. I'm getting to the point where I believe the whole thing's a sham.
Oh yeah.
Like just a game to distract people.
Okay. What do you think their goal is?
The whole Trump administration. Like, I don't think he ever wanted or intended or thought he had a chance in hell to win. I think he accidentally won. He was coached into being, he even says that Bill Clinton asked him to run. Talked him into running.
What?
And
Bill Clinton
talked about that.
Talked Trump into running?
While out golfing, Bill Clinton talked Trump into running. It convinced him to run.
He was just like really drunk at a bar. Like, dude, it'd be really funny if you ran against my wife. Dude,
they have
awesome.
A history of being friends.
Oh
the Clintons and the Trumps are friends. That was all theater.
That's crazy. Wow.
Ivanka and Chelsea are really good friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, yeah. I mean, and again, like,
they have a history. Their families have a history of being friendly together, and a lot of photographs of them hanging out together. And Bill and Trump golf together.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very friendly. That was all orchestrated, and she was supposed to win. And I really believe when it all went south and she didn't, they didn't know what to do, and they got him on board right away, of course. And I think it's just they've let him just go kind of wild and use him as a boogeyman. They're trying to get everybody to vote out of their own best interest and keep the corporate establishment greed system going.
That I agree with you. That right there, what you just said, that sentence, that I agree with you. They're getting people to vote out of their own best interest through methods of hate with the racist, no offense, conspiracy theorists for propaganda, and the religious. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they're making the best of a bad situation.
Right. I mean, yeah, and they're trying to get votes from people that they fucking are harming. How do you do that? How do you figure that out? Oh, except they will give you
an orange boogeyman.
Right. Well, they will give you like being anti-abortion. Something that doesn't actually affect your well-being at all, unless you're a woman who needs a fucking abortion.
Even the Jeff Sessions thing, even the throwing out the Bible verse for separating the families, is just to scare people.
Just to scare people.
That's what I'm starting to think, man. Like, look, to have him say that, look, they're never going to allow that. We have a separation of church and state that's never going to stand. You know what I mean? It was just a ridiculous thing. And he's the attorney general. So you're going to, did he just say a ridiculous thing? Or is this stuff is it pre-planned and scripted? Like, do they just playing us like a bunch of fools? Sometimes I wonder.
I mean,
it seems like how would you get into a position
like
to be attorney general and you're going to say something ridiculous that you know won't stand up in any court?
Like, what did he say?
You said, I don't know that he said it. You told me that he based it on a Bible verse. That won't stand.
Okay.
No one will stand for that. So you're just saying it to make everybody riled up.
Right. No, yeah, and what I was saying it to give a certain group of a certain portion of the country, like, hey, it's okay, Christians, because I'm going to read
Because
you
the
a
Bible
Bible
says this.
verse that says it's okay. You know what I
No.
mean? And they're all like, oh shit, I have to believe the Bible because that's what I base my whole life off of. I guess it's okay to take kids from their fucking parents as long as you're not an American and you walked over the border. You know, no matter what the circumstances are, and no matter if Trump was the one who defunded the places that we're walking from in the first place. But
Right. Or even Obama before him, and Clinton before him, and Bush before him, they've all done it.
Right. Oh yeah, well yeah, and Obama too, yeah, and to be
That's
clear,
what I'm saying,
we
though.
were not thrilled about that shit when Obama was doing it either, and he never put he never
But there was
implemented.
no focus put on it.
No, but I mean, like, that's the thing, and that's what makes me so upset about a lot of these Republicans is the fact that, like you and me, like we're Democrats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm not a Democrat. I'm more independent. I'm going to vote for the Democrats if they make the right decision and nominate Bernie Sanders.
Sure, and I totally agree with you.
I'm on my own path.
I actually am a Bernie supporter. I'm like 50% Bernie and 50% Warren. I haven't totally made my decision yet.
How are you 50% Warren?
She's fucking cool, man.
How? What is cool? Tell me. Please tell me what's cool.
She's smart, and she understands a lot of things that I think people overlook. She understands the education system. She understands finances. She understands. I mean, she's just a very well-educated, and she's very smart. Like, she just, I don't know. I like her. I think she's good, and she's for Medicare for all as well. And she's a bit slower about implementing it, but I actually think it's
can't
more
even
reasonable.
Explain it to you, dude. Do you think she'll fight for it?
What?
Medicare for all. She can't even explain it. She whenever she gets put on the spot about it, she can't even explain. She's patronizing.
No. I mean, because
I don't believe her.
The questions were not fair, and a lot of times because they were like, when they were questioned, they were trying to corner her and say, when this money, when the tax for this group of people go up. And I felt that was a stupid fucking question. I thought she actually answered it right.
Answered the question.
Which was
she don't want to
answer down
because she's not got a real plan. Like when you ask Bernie that question, he can tell you what the answer is because it's a well thought out plan. I believe he will actually fight for it. Her plan is basically a cop. She looked over his shoulder and scribbled on his paper. And then she don't even know where to sign it or where to put anything on it or how to answer a question on how much it's going to cost because it's not her fucking plan.
Because it's an unfair question. The question was meant to trap her because they wanted her to say.
It only traps her if she doesn't have a real plan.
No. And it's just the fact that, look, it's a stupid question in the first place because, and she answered it correctly, costs will go down. And that's the point. Is that there may be we don't know quite yet or whatever, like if we in the plan if taxes will go up for this group of people, even if they do, even if the costs go up, which they almost certainly will, the bigger costs of your lifestyle are gonna go down because everybody has to use this shit. Everybody uses healthcare, and so in the end, if you have these things covered, it's still gonna go down. And so she answered it correctly. It's what they were trying to get was a soundbite, man. They were trying to get her to go, yes, the taxes will be raised. Okay, play it on all the Fox News, play it on all the everything else. She said taxes will go up, and that's what they wanted, And she wasn't playing that game, and I respect her for it.
But it's all right. I guess she's too much of a politician for me.
Give us the
I
David
get it.
Smalley
I
side.
get what you're saying, but I don't. I think you don't bullshit people. Like I think that's what people like about Bernie in the first place.
I love Bernie. I think Bernie's
your taxes are going to go up, but your healthcare cost goes away. That's the best way to answer that question.
Yes, but
all of your healthcare expenses go away.
But for some reason, I know what the reason is, but she doesn't get the same leniency in the public eye that Bernie gets. And we need
leniency?
Yeah. Like he can say, Because Bernie's a fucking man. He's an old white man. Of course he can say
But he
taxes will
gets
go up
no
and we're still
leads
going to
from
support
the
him.
press.
But when it's a woman, you know, and she says this, it's like, like, fuck this bitch, or whatever. You know what I mean? They're all going to say terrible things. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why she has to be a bit more careful than someone like Bernie, who's already got a robust, I mean, he's got like a robust group of people that are ready to support him no matter what.
Huge, absolutely.
Huge.
And it's not even being shown its real level of support.
Yeah.
It's being hidden.
But I know it's frustrating. And don't get me wrong, I love watching CNN, but CNN pisses me the fuck off because all they can seem to talk about is Biden and Buttigieg, and that shit pisses me off.
Support.
What?
Biden has no real support.
I know. I don't feel like he does. Like, because everybody I talk to is like, no, I'm not voting for fucking Biden.
He has as much real support as Hillary Clinton did.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
What did the press tell you about Hillary Clinton? It was going to be a landslide. Trump was going to be embarrassed.
Right.
All of their polling showed that he was going to get slayed.
And that killed us. That was what killed us. Because then we were just all like, oh, it's done. It don't matter. I don't need to vote. Like, who needs to vote? Like, it's in the bag.
You know why?
That dude's a fucking pair of clown shoes. She's going to beat the hell out of him.
There was a variable that they didn't count on.
What's that?
There was a large group of people that usually cave that didn't.
And the Republicans.
I think that's what killed them. No, they pissed off half their base.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Because of the fucking emails that he demanded from fucking Russia, illegally, by the way. You're not supposed to ask for foreign favors when you're running for an American election, you know? And yet he did that on the fucking stage, and now he's doing it again. I'm sure he'll do it again after this, and we're all fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, unless we do the right thing in 2020, which I hope we will.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we will too. But the thing is, when we're dealing with a guy who cheats, don't tell me to wait for the next election. You know what I'm saying? That's what kills me. You're like, oh, don't impeach him. You got to wait for the next election. I'm like, we're impeaching him because he cheats in fucking elections. You get that? You know, it just kills me, man.
What do you think about the stuff that got uncovered about Biden, though?
What's that?
The Ukraine stuff.
Burisma and all that?
The scandal and stuff that him enriching his family and the stuff with his son. And
with Burisma. And I think it's fucked up. Honestly, I don't like that type of...
I mean, do you really think that Trump was thinking of Biden as a political opponent? Like the Ukraine stuff?
I don't think Trump has the capacity to think much past his immediate interests.
I don't give him much credit either. I don't think he was doing a political witch hunt. I think he was saw Biden as an enemy because of his association with Obama, and he sees Obama as an enemy.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So he already saw him.
A lot of shit.
He was probably already working on this
position to enrich himself and his son. And I think that stuff's important too. Like, I don't see how Biden is still a political candidate at this point.
I don't either, honestly.
And he's pushed by the mainstream media as the front runner, which is complete bullshit.
It is. It is. And, you know, I'd be almost with you on the conspiracy. Are they like changing who's the front runner at this point? You know what I mean? Like, I can see the conspiratorial like viewpoint on that because.
Oh yeah, they are. They are. They've already proven it to you. They proved it to you in 2016.
Yeah.
Every poll they showed you, she was going to beat him by 30 points.
Right.
It was all lies. They made it all up.
Well, I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know, as we're talking about conspiracies and stuff, I'm not even convinced that Trump did not cheat on the last election. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Like,
I don't think he wanted to be president.
It didn't look like he did when he got elected. Like the second that he like was like, oh, you won, he was like, ooh.
Oh yeah,
you know, like
they said Eliana was in tears.
Really?
Inconsolable. They didn't want this shit. He wanted to write a book, get a bunch of money out of this, and bilk it. He didn't want to win.
No. No, yeah, I think you're right.
Like some billionaire wants to play president for 4 years. He didn't want to win.
Right. And yeah, and I don't know. It's exactly. It's yeah. It's the whole thing is fucking frustrating, and I just wish that we would stop listening to the people that have a shitload of money and not the people. You know what I mean?
We're an oligarchy. And
We are.
that's what I love about Bernie is he's empowering people and teaching them that fact. We're not a democracy.
Mm-mm.
We've been taken over by corporations.
We have. And like,
Yes.
why is lobbying legal? Why? Why is that
Because we've
legal?
been taken over by corporations.
Exactly. Exactly, sir. Yes, that is true, sir.
So if you're not addressing that problem, you're not part of the solution. So how is Elizabeth Warren part of the solution?
Well, I mean,
She's not. Is she teaching you that you have to stand up and be united and rise up against the oligarchs? Is she teaching you that?
I mean, she does. She kind of has a very
Or can
similar.
she not because she's a woman? I think
it would be more difficult. It's more
Tulsi's
difficult.
a badass.
Yes. What's
I
that?
don't think Tulsi Gabbard is a badass.
Oh.
I don't think you can use the woman excuse.
But she's giving them everything they want. I mean, she's not even for Medicare for all. I mean, she's a corporate stooge more than anybody else, isn't she?
I didn't say I supported her. I said she's a badass.
But I'm saying, yeah, the woman's fine as long as
would
she's
just
giving
give
the
you
rich
the
people what
answer.
they want. But as soon as the woman starts to go against what the rich people want, yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult for her than the millionaire that is Bernie Sanders.
Not if she doesn't want their money. She says I'll only want it if I'm running in a general election. Then I want the rich people's money. But look, what you got to not care about it at all.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Got to show everybody that you're not bought off by these people because that is not who you represent. So Bernie has promised, and this is a promise that you should be able to make if you're really for making massive change. If you believe that that's what needs to happen, that you do not need that money.
Right.
And you are not going to kowtow to those people. So then there is no problem answering that question.
But the problem is that they've basically, because of the lobbying, they've set the rules to say that you do need that amount of money. And that's a very big part of making it to, debates and shit like that. Huh?
Do you think that Bernie got the nomination that he could fund his campaign?
Do you think that, do I think if Bernie got the nomination that he could fund his campaign? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, he's got grassroots type of
grassroots fundraising.
Yeah,
you wouldn't take it from super PACs.
Oh yeah, and I love that about him. That's what I'm saying. Like he's my sharp second, man. I would love to see a Bernie and Warren package deal as far as our presidency goes.
No way.
What? Why?
That would sap a Bernie's base right away.
You think so?
Yeah, she's a corporate sellout, and she didn't stand up for us when she had the opportunity to. She let an election be rigged. That was an election. I know it was a primary, but she'll even admit to this day that she knows it was rigged.
She knows the way. Okay, you're talking about a bunch of stuff I don't know about. She's
one of the people that has since it happened, come out and said she knows that it was rigged in Hillary Clinton's favor against Bernie Sanders. So she knew it at the time. And what did she do at the time? She came out with Hillary on stage and backed Hillary, never backed Bernie, didn't endorse Bernie. She showed her true colors. So she burned her bridges with progressives. That's the thing that Warren doesn't get. She'll never get that vote. That's over. She showed herself.
Huh.
So she doesn't have the support needed to beat Trump because she wouldn't be accepted.
I mean, she was like the front runner for a bit there, though. But she was for a little while.
The media says she is.
No, she was for a minute, and the media did not like to say it. That was the funny part.
No, they love
her
saying
and Bernie were like the front runner.
And they'll fully embrace her when Biden finishes his implosion. They'll fully embrace her. And then they'll probably embrace Buttigieg when Warren shows that she can't win. Because she can't win.
I don't know, man. I think
there's not a real person on that stage. It's all fake, other than Bernie. None of them could sell out a room. They can't even fill a gym.
Dude, I think that Trump has pissed off enough people that
Did you see
we
Warren's
can
rally at the
actually
bowling
take
alley?
home somebody that actually wants to do something different in this country, you know.
Well, Trump derangement syndrome is very intense and very strong. It could.
Trump derangement syndrome. I love it.
That's real. That's real. They treat that. They now address that as a medical condition, Trump derangement syndrome. It's real.
That's so funny. Oh my God, Trump derangement.
Being medicated for that.
Oh, that's funny. I needed that.
And it's real. It was created by the media. They think of how much they build him up. Pull up CNN at any given moment of any given day, and everything is Trump.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it is. It is. I mean, he's fucking up a lot of shit. So.
Well, I mean, is it that, or is it that they're just putting a microscope on someone that never should have been president?
Amy with a Y says Warren can win. I had to say it right because Amy with a Y commented Warren can win.
No way. No way. No way. She has 1/64th of the support that she says she has.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So mate, what? Moving on. What? So okay. What is it? So you're a Christian, correct?
Yeah.
That was not. Yeah. Well, so whatever.
No, I am. I'm kind of, I didn't mean that to sound that way. I meant it to sound like, here we go. Like, I don't know what direction you're going to take it now.
All right. No, it's fine. No, I was just going to go based on, like, so what exactly, so how, trying to think of, I got so many directions
How did I
can
become
go.
a Christian? We could start there.
It's like, what?
I was going to say we could start with how I became one.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Because I wasn't always.
Oh,
I
really?
used to be more, and I still have massive questions. They haven't been answered.
Well, that's good.
So I came into it with that. And I was at a really low point in my life, basically. And it was just, I felt like I was going to hurt myself. So I went to a bunch of different places. The only place I could think of to go where you could talk to somebody other than a psychiatrist was a church. So first I went into a Catholic church. By the way, they are assholes and will not help you if you are not Catholic. So don't go to them if you're in trouble, especially if you feel like you might hurt yourself. Do not go to a Catholic church. So I went to another church. The pastor wasn't there. I went to another church, and I finally found somebody that would talk to me. And he couldn't answer a single one of my questions. But he asked me to sit through the sermon. And I had an experience. I felt like a presence in me and around me for like days. And then weird things happened in my life. I feel like it was a religious experience, and I can't deny it to this day. I even got a tattoo to commemorate it. It fucking happened. Like really weird shit would happen. I was at a really low point. So I was paying, at one point I was paying for my gas and change at a Quick Trip. And the cashier was being a real dick about it. And I'd already decided I was going to hit him in the mouth. And this lady puts down a card in front of me. And it's just a card. I still carry it in my wallet. It's a fucking prayer card. It had an NFL player on the side that was up, though. I wouldn't have known what it was until I flipped it over. But she just laid this card down, and I changed my mind. I picked up the card. I let him finish shittily counting my change and went out and got my gas. And then she comes and gives me a book, The Purpose-Driven Life. I never read it.
Oh, yeah, Purpose-Driven Life.
But this shit happened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can't deny it. And even though I have these questions that I've never had answered, like, about, like, the same things probably anybody does, like why evil's allowed in the world, or like atheists will come at me with starving children in Africa, and why is this allowed to happen? I could never support a God that allows these starving children or allows this to happen. And, these things are still questions I have. But,
yeah,
I know this experience happened to me. I had this feeling, and I can still conjure it up sometimes if I'm talking to God. So I know there's a connection, and it's either that I'm crazy, but aren't I part of a mass hysteria if I am crazy?
Yeah.
So maybe I am. I guess you might look at it that way.
Or
Or
no,
you may think that you have proof that it's that way. I don't think that you do, though.
right. No, and I wouldn't say Joe, because and honestly, personal experiences are and yours is actually special because like okay, so usually what my response would be to personal experience, like the other day, this my neighbor, or my landlord really, who's also my neighbor, was telling me about how his hand was healed, and he had this cyst type of thing on his hand, and he prayed, he put his hand over it, lifted up his hand, and it was gone.
Right.
Okay. And so for me, and that was one of the stories he was trying to give is like confirmation that that's why he believes what he believes. And my point, and see, this is why yours is different from that, is because, usually my response is that what convinced you to become a Christian? And they're like, no, I was already a Christian when that happened, And so I'm like, okay, so then A, it's not what convinced you, and B, once you were already convinced of something else, you got a confirmation bias to where, like, doesn't matter what weird shit happens in your life, you're going to attribute it to whatever God you believe in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And yeah, mine is kind of weird because it's the opposite. I hadn't thought of it that way, but it is.
Yeah,
because I wasn't religious.
Right, and that's kind of
I actually only went there for help, and I knew that that would be the type of person that would probably talk to me.
Right.
That's why I initially went in there. I was raised Baptist, but like, I don't know, I guess I never took it to heart.
And you never really took it to seem like, hey, this one particular religion and this one particular God and this one particular denomination and this one particular interpretation of this religion through the lens of the denomination is why, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't really do that, right?
No, but I did choose one, and I feel like I made the right decision. It feels true to me. But I understand that is arrogant because look at all the religions that exist.
Right. And all
the different deities. But then a lot of those, if you really look at those, you can even make connections where are they their own thing, or did they kind of all just make their own version?
Yeah.
Of what is the same thing?
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, they disagree on if whatever it is, a key, and like I said, we won't go into because you're not a Bible scholar, and neither am I.
Yeah, there's little details. I get you.
Yeah, they kind of accentuate one point. I mean, the Baptists are like, oh, you have to be baptized, otherwise you're going to hell. And then the other, the Lutherans or whoever else was like, oh yeah, but what about the guy on the cross next to Jesus, bro? Huh?
Right.
And so, it creates this. It's like, but where the fuck is the Holy fucking Spirit that's supposed to, like, clarify this shit? You know what I mean? Like, isn't that his job? Isn't that what he's supposed to do? Like, why is the Holy Spirit messing with everybody? Why is he giving different messages to all these different people? And they're all like, dude, I know that I know that I know. And that's really what makes me the most uncomfortable with religion. It's the fact that they have this I know that I know that I know shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, how? Like, I'm not even, again, we were talking about, I don't know, I'm not even absolutely certain I'm not in a fucking dream right now. I could very easily wake up in a couple of minutes and be like, oh shit, that was just a dream because I was thinking about Shawn Yankey because I was just watching Conspiracies and Chill. And okay, I get it. Yeah, this is just as easy. You know what I mean? So why would I be so absolutely certain that this thing is true? You know what I mean? And I guess that's what frustrates me the most with any religion, where they're just like, hey, I know that I know this. And it's like, really? Because the Muslim knows he knows it too, dude. Get in fucking line. Everybody knows they know, okay? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you know it as much as you possibly can. Like, you can't.
Maximal.
The way I would have to say, if I know it feels true to me, and when you're bullshitting yourself, and that's how you can. That's the best way you can gauge most things, is if it passes your own inner bullshit detector. So I guess if it's passing that, and you believe it, which is what a belief is in any way, it's something you can't demonstrate or prove.
Right.
But you believe in it. And that's what it is. So it's hard to demonstrate or prove it. And that's what you're asked to do, is believe and have faith.
Right.
So if it was proven to you and laid out for you, that's more just, I'm disregarding that information because I don't like it.
Right.
That's not belief or faith. That's just, okay, you explain it to me, I disregard it. Right. And that's kind of bullshit, right? I mean, those are the possible realities that could exist. So it'd either be you know everything, and then you just make your choice, or you just believe and have faith. And you can't prove that part.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
but if your creator told you everything, would that be cool? I mean, would you even like that?
I would imagine it would be, but I mean, you know, that's just me. Like, I would think that, hey, this dude should clarify some shit, you know, because clearly we're all fighting. We fought a civil war over some verses that were misinterpreted one way or the other. You know what I mean?
We did a lot of fucked up shit over this.
Right? I mean, because you got one group saying, hey, no, slavery is totally outlined in the Bible, and the other group going, yeah, it's there, but it's bullshit, and we all know it because it's harmful to people. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, they were actually on the losing side of an ideological battle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's when you have these kind of interpretations that can lead to these crazy different conclusions. And when we're talking about faith, I mean, oh my God, the conclusions that you can come to based on faith.
You look at it as a test, though. It's perfect. Because you are being tested, right? I mean, if we're looking at it from the side that religion's real.
Sure.
So it's a test. You can't lay out the answers. What kind of test is that? So you put it out there for them. That I'm just answering your question about what would the Holy Spirit be doing. So it's put out there for you, and you can make choices. Like, you have free will. And then that's got to be allowed to play out. You can either have free will or not. So if you do have it, then you got to have it, right, all the way. So whatever happens, happens.
Sure.
I don't know.
But what confirmation?
I mean, how much responsibility or how much involvement would you want a creator to have?
More
like to play with
than
the pieces individually? Like, how much would you want the board manipulating?
I mean, I think that since God understands that I'm a reasonable thinking human, that he would give me reasonable evidence in order to come to the conclusion that he exists. You know, and that's like when people say, oh, it's not a religion, it's a relationship. And it's like, dude, and they're like, oh, aren't you in a relationship with your wife? And I'm like, yeah, I know she exists, dude. I wouldn't have a relationship with her if I was unsure about her existence or couldn't demonstrate that she existed. You know what I mean? Like, it's a silly analogy because it doesn't, you know, these things don't work the same way. The relationship with Jesus, and it's fun. I don't mean to throw any shade or anything like that, but it's you having a conversation with somebody in your head. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to demonstrate that the voice that you're talking to is actually the being that you think that it is. And that's sort of the problem.
Dialogue, though, too, right? I mean,
oh yeah, I love doing that.
Else.
I talk to myself all the time.
You can tell. I'm saying that you can tell the difference between it. I'm serious.
I don't know, because it sort of just transitioned into me just talking about. Because I used to do because like back in the day, I had this thing where I was okay. So to give a background, I was homeschooled. I was extremely locked in to my world. You know, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody that was not a Christian. So it was this very walled-in world, and so you know, yeah, the thoughts in my head, like I literally would, and I still do. I don't give a fuck all of you if you're judging me for this. I talk to myself, okay? I do that a lot, and I used to do it a lot before that. But I was talking to Jesus, you know, and I was convinced that he was talking back to me, you know, and now that I'm not a believer, I still have the same behavior, yes, but it's under the understanding that there's not some foreign being that's actually answering. It's just me. It's just my mind answering my own questions and having a conversation with you. I know it's weird, but it's all, you know, but
we're both weird because I love talking to myself and have always done it too. And I'm telling you, you can tell the difference.
Right. Well, see, I couldn't though, because I used to hear the voices of the Holy Spirit with the voices of my own, and now it's like, oh wow,
But
that
you
was
know
just my
when you're bullshitting
conscience.
yourself, don't you? I mean, you know when you're telling yourself something you want to hear. Or even if you're telling yourself something, you're filling in the information for yourself. You can feel the difference.
And that distinction right there is what I came to recognize, like, is the fact that, am I deceiving myself by saying this thing? And usually the thing that the Holy Spirit that I thought was telling me was something that aligned very much with the ideology that I believed in, which was the Bible, right? So like, in that was kind of my metric to determine whether or not it was the Holy Spirit or not. I was like, oh, this is the line with the Bible, because otherwise it's the fucking devil. You know what I mean? And that was my metric, because otherwise you can't tell. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, yeah, you can't officially tell. For sure. I mean, again, I could be delusional, I guess.
You're not delusional. You just...
Well, that's why it would be looked at. I mean, I know that you don't want to. If you were with your other atheist friends, I don't mean to say, I don't know how to say it right.
You're mistaken.
But you think I believe in, like, what would you describe it as? Like a man in the sky?
Sure.
I've heard that. That's just something people have said to me.
Or just a being
like
that's outside.
In a sky daddy, I've had someone say that.
Yeah. I like
Who believes that? Like, no, seriously. Like, what? Are you even open? You say you're a complete skeptic, like, about reality until it's completely proven to you. But
sure.
Like, there are common theories that are out there right now about other dimensions, other realities, or even the Matrix simulation theory, how Elon Musk is convinced that we live in a Matrix. What do you think about any of that stuff?
I mean,
is it even possible, though?
Of course. It's definitely possible. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that I'm plugged into a machine right now, and that maybe we all are plugged into a machine right now. Sure, it's possible. But I need evidence that would suggest that was the case in a very conclusive sense.
That's what bothers me, though. Like, I could be wrong, and maybe I am, but I don't know why it's such a subject that can be mocked so easily.
I appreciate you saying that, honestly. That's
but what I'm saying is, you just told me that the Matrix could be possible. That you believe that's on the table. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibilities, but God is. Like, I don't understand why we can acknowledge that there's other dimensions, other possibilities of other dimensions, other layers to reality, things that we don't even experience because we can't.
But there's a possibility of invisible, invisible octopi that are just flying all around us that we just can't see or feel. I mean, there's a possibility of that as well. But I'm not gonna say that that's
weird shit around us that we don't experience or feel.
Exactly.
Really, because we only have our senses and our ability to perceive what we perceive.
Perfect. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Exactly.
Right. But then how can we be looking at the world through the same lens and seeing it so different? Like, to me, that proves God. Like, that almost proves it.
Really?
It's
the fact that the fact that
two
of us honest
table.
We're both honest interlocutors right now. We're coming from two different perspectives, but we're both recognizing the fact that we could both be mistaken, and we're elaborating on that fact by saying that, hey, there could be invisible octopi that are floating around me.
I'm saying that's got to put God back on. I don't see how that doesn't put God back on the table.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it kind of does, but and that's the point, is that I'm not saying that God doesn't exist. I never said that. I know,
but that's always
I'm not convinced.
That's always the wall that I don't want to put you in a group, but that the wall that they hide behind is, I'm not trying to prove. You're trying to say there is a God. Well, you're saying there isn't. You are saying something.
But I'm saying I'm not convinced.
I'm saying there is, but I'm not saying I can prove it to you. I never told you I could prove it to you. I said I believe there is. That's what I do. But then they'll mock you. They'll be like, "Oh, you believe in a sky daddy? You're a retard. Like, you're basically someone that believes in Santa Claus."
And I feel like that's rude and not okay.
That's awful. It doesn't make any sense even. Like, it's outside the walls of logic, because it's a possibility. Like, you have to, at least at the end of the day, admit you can't say for sure that it's not.
Right. It is a possibility. It
Right.
absolutely is. But what I'm saying is that I'm not going to be convinced of it unless there is evidence that supports it in some sort of tangible way.
What would that be, though?
I don't know, but I'm sure the God would
know.
know.
But I don't know. That's
God know?
just weird for me.
God would know what the right amount of evidence that he should.
But like most
give
Christians,
me.
I don't
Why is he
believe you would be
hiding?
judged for that belief. I don't believe you would be judged for that.
Judged for not being convinced?
I just wanted, because I think that a God, look, I guess I give God more credit than most people do.
I think you do.
Yeah, well, I don't know that Christians would claim me, honestly. I claim them. I don't know that they'd let me on their team because I don't think that God is a hateful being and it just lords over and rules and judges. And I also think that if he created man in his own image, that you would have that ability to think and that he would know you would do that. You're doing it. So
yeah, he
knows there's problems with it. You're not saying you're not that person. You're not like, oh, I can do whatever I want because there's no responsibility. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's not like you're running around like Godzilla tearing up the town.
Exactly.
So he's not gonna. I don't think he would burn you in hell forever because you questioned.
But see that I mean, I know that you don't go by the Bible, but that seems to be what most doctrines support is the fact that just because people are not convinced that this is true, they're going to be torched forever, in a lake of fire or whatever.
Yeah, and then there's also though, because I can't justify what I'm about to say because I've never read the damn thing for myself even, but there's research that I've seen that talk about how hell is not even really mentioned in the Bible.
It's not. No, I mean, it was added later.
I don't know that, but go ahead.
It was just, the devil for sure was not in the Old Testament. That was added later. And the concept of hell came basically with Christianity with Jesus, because I'm pretty sure Jesus talked about hell, and that was where that was its birth.
And then
but I'm not
the Bible, everyone knows and accepts. See, this is where people get mad at me, but everyone knows and accepts that it was translated, and a lot of that had to be done by hand, and it was multiple times that was done. So, and there was other kings and stuff that would have things. Well, no one will accept that they had them had it, but why wouldn't they? And had it rewrote at their request, and stuff was edited and left out.
Yeah.
There's books that are hidden of the Bible, and so you only have a piece and a fraction of it anyway, and like you're saying, you can interpret it so it can be used for evil.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And it is. Because that's part of the deception that's going on in society is you turn everything upside down.
Right.
So it can be used for bad, but so can anything.
Sure.
So a lot of times I think people are mad at religion, which there's a lot of reason to be. But there's, if it wouldn't have been that, it'd been something else. It's like using the modern day equivalent of video games make kids violent. If something would have done that, we kill it's in our nature. If we weren't killing each other over that, it would have been something else. It would have been this guy likes red sticks and I like blue sticks. And I'm going to kick his ass.
But it causes that division. And that it's not necessarily the violence that comes from it. It's the division that's drawn from it. So like you have, and Jesus said it himself. He said, I come to turn a father against his son. I come to bring a mother against her daughter. I come to bring division, and somehow that's a good thing. And I don't get it. I don't understand how division can ever help us. The only thing that can help us is understanding that other people are different than us and us all being able to work together. And you know what I mean? And also understanding, hey, we have a society, and I don't want to be propped up above you and have more rights than you any more than I want you to have more rights than me. And I feel like that's very simple, and that goes back to my understanding of morality, which is basically just well-being. What's the best well-being for all people? I mean, objectively, we can say, what's a non-subjective evaluation of consequences of actions with respect to a certain goal? And I would extend that to the goal being the best well-being for the most amount of people, right?
Right.
If we lived by that, wouldn't that be better than religious dogma? Let me ask you that.
Only if you're seeing it as something that is inherently evil in itself. It was the way it was used for that. But I'm saying you could, if those people had that intent, because what was really behind it wasn't what they were saying. It was about power and land and other things. They used it to manipulate the people. Kind of like in the book of Eli, where the bad guy wants the Bible. So for that power of it, it has power. But so it was used for evil. I don't think that makes it evil. That makes men evil.
No, that's fine. I mean, and you're right. It can go either way. It's like a hammer. You can
maybe
use a hammer to build
the question.
You can use a hammer to build a beautiful house, or you can use a hammer to kill somebody, right?
Right.
So, how about we
Were you
get
asking
rid
me
of
if
the
the
hammer
dogma itself is dangerous?
Huh?
Were you asking me if the dogma itself is dangerous?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in saying that if we can understand morality on this other format, then we're going to understand it based on well-being and the best well-being for the most people being the goal, right? Wouldn't that be better than dogmatic religious claims of, gay people deserve to be murdered, and other things like that, or you can't jack off or whatever, just all the shit that's in the Bible.
By the way, I wouldn't support any of the stuff that you mentioned. So I think those people are twisting.
That's awesome, and I appreciate that. Honestly,
yeah,
that's really cool.
There's no way Jesus is worried about who's jacking off. There's no way.
I think that's Old Testament anyway. Yeah, but
no, it's ridiculous. It's not happening. I really don't think so. Can you imagine?
I'm trying not to, but I do.
No, I mean seriously. Why would anybody want to think that's what's going on?
I don't know, man. That's what kills me, though. It's like, and what the weird thing is,
doors I don't want open.
Right? Well, and the weird thing is like that's this is one of the rules for white supremacist groups is you're not allowed to masturbate. Isn't that fucked up and weird?
It's going to help keep you angry, is what it's going to do.
See, you and me, man. We're on the same level, bro. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Sex before a fight, like a boxer.
Yeah, exactly. No boob.
Women weak in the knees. Remember Rocky?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he means. It makes you mean.
Yeah, it does. I would be fucking plenty mean. Well, I mean, I'm in a really awesome relationship, so it's not that big a deal.
It's kind of gay as a rule, isn't it? Don't you think?
What?
That you're thinking about masturbation when you're making your rules.
Right.
By the way, guys, you're not allowed to touch yourself. Don't do it. Like, how does it even come up?
I don't know. Like, hey, I'm going to go jack up. No, you can't.
No, you're making a list of rules, right? You're like, we don't allow this, and I hate Jews, and by the way, we can't masturbate. Right. What? Did anybody perk up in the room like, hey, wait a minute?
That's something he has the authority to tell me I can't do. Okay.
What does masturbating got to do with hating Jews?
With that, and honestly, the hating Jew thing, I'm like curious. Like, do you feel, because you research a lot of conspiracies, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that there is this kind of weird anti-Semitic lens that all these things come through?
People get it wrong. It's Zionists, and they equate that with Jews. Okay. That's where it goes sideways.
Zionists.
It's Zionists. What's really going on in the world is being orchestrated by Zionists, and they hide behind the veil of Israel and Jewish. A lot of real Jews will talk down about what Israel. Not on and up and up. It's weird. Everything's upside down. This is the age of deception.
I agree with that.
So it's a big rabbit hole you're opening. How much time you got?
It just always seems that, any type of conspiracy when it comes out, it's like the Illuminati or whatever. Like it's all like the Bilderbergs, and any other Jewish name they can.
But I run into it all the time because people will comment on my videos. I'll say something about maybe Israel, or I'll bring something up about you know, because I think Mossad was involved in 9/11, and people will get excited and they'll be like, "Fucking Jews and they're running the world," and I always correct them because I'm like, "You're talking about Zionism. You're not mad at Jews. Like you're mad at this global agenda."
Can you explain to me what is the global agenda? What does that mean?
The best way you've probably ever been exposed to it you probably know what the New World Order is, right?
I've heard it, yeah.
Heard that, right?
Yeah,
the Illuminati.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what's behind all of that. And it basically hubs out of Israel. Like, have you ever wondered why Israel has so much influence over our government and why we give them so much aid and all of that? Has that ever bothered you?
We got a shitload of Christians here, and they need the end times to come true. So
I know that's how they're
to
selling
be the case.
Since we're talking conspiracies, and I'm just letting you know what the belief is on it, is that what the Zionists, and then in that agenda and what they're doing is taking over the world, and they're doing it through. They're making, like you said, it has to do with bringing the Bible to reality, but there is an agenda doing it. Like a lot of these places that we're controlling, it's for the end times that they're setting up. Right. They're orchestrating it.
That's Chris says the New World Order is coming. that sounded like what you were saying, right, Chris?
But this group that these people are talking about, they equate them with Jews because that's the veil that they hide behind through Israel.
Right. Yeah, and I'm
trying to make sense of a big topic, really shorthand, and I don't know.
I know. Yeah, it's difficult for them. We're gonna have to get into this at another point in time because we got there's so much to cover here. But the fact that our country always it's so weird because they're so fucking anti-Semitic when it comes to their rhetoric, but then they're like, oh no, but we gotta protect Israel. Like we gotta do everything. It's like, what the fuck is up with you? Like you hate the people, but you're cool with Israel. Oh, because you just care about Israel being okay when the world is destroyed or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? And that's when Jesus comes back and all that stuff. You know,
we're the military arm of the worldwide agenda. It's already in place. There's a one world government, and all of this is already happening. And when you look at it from the outside, when you look at it from that perspective, every bit of it makes sense, especially how protected we are in a day-to-day life as the citizens of the country that is the military arm of the, whatever you want to call them. I hate giving them a label, like the Illuminati or the New World Order. The people that are running this world, like really running it. You could call them the deep state. They're called a lot of different things. And I think that's how people get you to sound crazy, is when you want to give them a name.
Yeah, because it kind of does, man. Kind of like if you're referring it to it, and then you can pop up a video that says somebody else is talking about this shit and acting completely nonsensical. Yeah, that's
to say that there's a small group of people pulling the strings is true.
Right.
And then the only thing that's conspiracy is when you start going into what they believe, but you're basing that on what they're showing you.
Yeah.
And like when you look at things like Bohemian Grove and all this weird shit like spirit cooking, these people are into demonic shit. They just are. And they are. I heard you scoff a little, but they do. They believe in Luciferian stuff and they practice it. And it's have you heard of Bohemian Grove? First off, I should check in.
Bohemian Grove?
Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw the Alex Jones.
So they go there as elites, and they worship Moloch, a demon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This happens. It's a yearly festival. And yeah, it could just be them having a weird... Nixon said it was the gayest thing he'd ever seen. It was a bunch of people running around in the wilderness. That's the way he described it, naked. Mm-hmm.
It is weird. It's fucking weird. Like, I mean, let's all like call a spade here. That's fucking weird, right? But
it is.
It's not something supernatural, and it's not this. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's people confused. I mean, it's them living according to heathen traditions that they had to hide from everybody because heathen traditions were not the most accepted. You know what I mean? Right? So they're gonna have to hide that, right?
Right. I mean, so they just do that, and they just all happen to be into that because it's fun and trendy.
it is kind of fun. I mean, you're out fucking everybody that's around, you know, and get to run into wilderness naked and fucking whoever's around. Like,
hey, it sounds. I mean, on paper, it sounds fantastic.
Sounds like a great time. You know, I'd be
no,
fine
I don't really
worshiping
that, but
a giant owl.
I guess you could sell it to people that had those inclinations, and that could be all it is.
Yeah,
could be.
I mean, I don't know. I just, to me, I totally believe that it's a thing, like, right? Because I mean, it's basically demonstrable at this point, right?
Yeah.
You know, we know that the Bohemian Grove exists. We know the type of people that go there, right? It's all the rich and the wealthy and everything. We know because of
world leaders,
good old Alex Jones, that there is a giant owl statue that they pretend to sacrifice children. Oh my God, I can't even finish the sentence without not wanting to laugh, because this is insane. This is insane.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it sounds totally crazy, and I get why you like that. Like right there should just be the jump off point for every fucking weird conspiracy we could possibly think of, and you could point to that and be like, look, hey, this shit's crazy. So is all of this, and it's all still true. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know.
Right, but how much crazy do you ignore?
I try not to ignore crazy. I don't.
No, but
I try to give him. I try to listen, hear him out a little bit. You know, me and crazy are pretty close. You know, on a lot of levels.
When do we act on it? When do we get concerned that like presidents are going to do this? Like, when do we go, all right, what the fuck, dude? Like, you guys are leaders. Why are you doing this? You know what the cremation of care is for, right? It's to remove the guilt for what they've done to us lessers over the past year. It's ridiculous. We live in a world where we're lorded over by Luciferians, and then everybody wants to equate that with Satanists, which gets super weird, because those are the ones that have the coloring book and the after-school programs and are fighting the government agenda. But I'm talking about demon worshippers.
So I feel like you can help me out here. What is the difference between Luciferian and my buddies that are all the Satanic Temple that do all the cool shit when Christians try to
Luciferians
exercise their privilege?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Go.
I forget sometimes that we're on mic and you can't talk at the same time. You'll probably notice that. I'll hear myself when I listen to this back and go, "You're an asshole." Like, you talked over him all the time. I feel like we're sitting side by side.
You're good, man. I just like, like I said, I like the conversation. You're good.
No, when I talk about Luciferians, these people, they worship these old demons like Baal, Moloch. They're into an evil agenda. They carry out, I go all the way down the rabbit hole. So I would say that they would carry out these things in these ceremonies they have. I know that it's just pageantry at Bohemian Grove, but I'm not outside the realm of possibilities that stuff like that's going on. The real shit.
Oh man, and Epstein was in charge of it.
He had a fucking temple on his island. What's that for? I mean, it could be for theater. But it's the only prestigious thing on the whole island. Did you see the footage of his island?
No, I didn't. No, what? No.
Everything's hidden. He even brought in extra trees to hide shit. The only thing exposed is a big temple. And it was, a bullshit structure, but a real, temple with a fire pit and where you could have a big, extravagant, demonic ceremony. And that's all it could be for. That's all it was for. They lived like gods on that little island, and just did whatever they wanted.
But you think they were sacrificing some of the ladies?
I think they had demonic ceremonies there.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
They had a temple for it.
Sure, okay.
No, seriously, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, please do.
I will.
I'd like to see that.
But what would it be for other than to put on little shows? And who goes there? So who's going to see the show? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I see what you're saying. I mean, I don't know if I'm totally convinced that.
I know you don't believe it, but I'm saying it's all there.
I'm not saying.
Why are they doing this weird shit?
I'd say I need a bit more information first.
Oh,
So, like, because I know this shit's weird. Like, the whole Epstein Island, the whole fucking thing's already outside of my scope of something that I would be convinced of anyway, but we have enough evidence for me to be like, okay, this is a thing. So now all bets are off.
For you to, okay, so, like, what about everything that's already exposed with Epstein? Like, that's all going away now. It's fizzing away like smoke. Like, the attention's going away over it. But what was exposed? Like, why isn't everybody? See what I'm saying? Like, that's why I believe that belief system is harmful, because the shit's going on. There are victims screaming for help right now, and everybody's ignoring, looking away, like, oh, he killed himself in his jail cell. I guess it's over now. No, look, everyone was tied to this fucking dude. We have all this shit here, and this sex ring is probably still going on. Like, why is everybody walking away from this?
Probably.
Why don't you feel like, with everything that you did see, that it is big enough story to wonder why powerful people like Bill Clinton was president?
Yeah, and I think it warrants a lot more investigation and a lot more, like you said, yeah, I mean, this is something that happened that's demonstrable, and we know that it happened. So, yeah, I would say that it warrants a lot more investigation so we can catch the other people.
But how would that investigation come without the demand for it?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
What I mean?
That's the same sort of thing with climate change. Yeah, I get it.
There.
Yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know. I do a podcast. I can scream about it all I want on the podcast, but trying to get other people to actually like take action and do these things, especially if they're part of big agencies like the FBI or the CIA or something like that, to try to expect them to be able to do that is difficult. And like, there's no, you know what I mean? Like, if they're not convinced that this is, I mean, shit, we got the whole fucking. Senate basically saying that the impeachment is bullshit, and that he didn't actually commit this crime. Well, we have so much evidence, and they're all just going, nope, don't see no problems here. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think it'll pass the Senate.
Of course not. No, it's not going to pass the Senate. You're right. You're absolutely right. But that's my point, is that you're going to have, like, even if we did care, like, even if we did say something about this, there's not enough evidence to, first of all, like, be able to demonstrate that this is even a problem before we even, you know what I mean? Like, this is difficult. I am with you. If there is a sex ring, I want to be against that, and I want to get it torn apart and everybody arrested, So far, we've gotten one guy, and I guarantee you're right that there is more than one guy involved in the sex ring. But until we have, like, conclusive evidence that we can, that these other people are guilty, we can't do shit. And that's a difficult thing, and it's a difficult reality, but it is a reality, because we can't just arrest people because we think they might sort of be doing something because of who they are, or the fact that they're involved in government or whatever. We can't just go start arresting people. So it kind of puts this wedge in between what we want to be able to do and what we want to know, and what we're capable of knowing and what we're capable of doing based on that knowledge. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But the whole time you were saying it, I was thinking about, like, if I'm a bad guy, how perfect is the situation for me? And it sounded pretty damn perfect. It sounded ideal. Like, I was like, I can do anything I want in this situation. Because by the time you prove it, I'm done. It's well done. Everything's well past. Yeah. It's over with.
And that sucks. It sucks that things work that way. You know what I mean? It does. It sucks. But you know what else sucks? It sucks that cancer babies exist. You know what I mean? These bad things exist and that happen in reality that we don't have any control over. They just happen, and we still can't manufacture evidence in order to go try to get somebody arrested or whatever, when we don't have the positive evidence that they definitely did that thing. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's frustrating, and these people have a lot of power, and they have a lot of ability to hide the shitty things that they do, which is what scares me about the next election, because I don't know what he's gonna do to cheat next, and there's no way to hold him accountable, because he has a whole.
He won't need to cheat if they don't nominate Bernie Sanders. He won't need to cheat.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you might.
I'm serious.
I
He's
mean,
got massive support. People
I love
don't
Warren, but
like to think about that, but he has massive support.
I do like Bernie a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like
You know that,
I'm
right?
1 inch away from being supportive of Bernie more than anything.
But you know about Trump's support, right? Have you seen his rallies?
Yeah, no, a little bit.
They love him.
Oh yeah,
He has massive support.
he has a cult. It's a fucking cult.
Oh, he does. He does. But they love him.
Oh yeah, they definitely.
And he will be very hard to beat in an election.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, they've done this to themselves. They've made him a boogeyman. So everyone that's on Team Trump feels like they're on the right team because look, and this is what they always point to because you may not. Do you know about Q?
Oh, okay. We're gonna get into a whole different degree here.
We might, but yeah.
Q.
Yeah, the QAnon people. They're
Q is
Trump
fascinating.
supporters.
I do read a lot of the stuff that Q comes out with. And again, I'm not saying that I'm convinced that he actually works in the White House or he or she. I don't know, or anything. It could be a she. Damn it.
I just realized I accidentally met a Q believer. Like, you follow the Q stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I try to stay informed in a little bit of everything.
That's what I like about Q, it, actually.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
It gets people to look into stuff.
Right. And I have no problem with that. If you're getting people to investigate, that's a good thing.
That's why it's a good thing. I agree with it for that reason. But like the Trump support, does it bring you down to that level? Do you support Trump because of it?
No, absolutely not.
Do you believe he's against the deep state and the establishment?
I don't believe that there's a deep state. No.
Right.
I'm not believe that exists.
So, which part of the Q? Where do you go? With
no, I don't believe any of it. I just like to stay informed
but,
on what he said. So
you just follow the posts.
Yeah, because it informs a lot about what people might think, because people tend to hold Q's opinion in high esteem, and so that's important to know when doing the same sort of thing that we're doing right now. It's a kind of something that I use to help me have this sort of discourse.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what do you think of the Q posts? Like yourself, your opinion.
I feel like
take away from it.
I feel like it's very propaganda-ish, man. I feel like it's a lot of muddying the waters. Like, you know.
So you think it's being orchestrated?
I don't know about orchestrated.
I'm just trying to figure out what you meant by propaganda-ish.
It just seems like he's trying to put shit out there that might confuse people and might allow them to not be able to see what's right in front of them because, oh, wait, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? You know,
and it can all be interpreted.
Yes, and I feel like it's a sharp tool. It's a very good tool to use, especially if you're trying to deceive people or you're trying to convince somebody that this person is actually good. Or
why do you think that Trump plays up to it?
That he plays because it makes him look good. I don't really see much.
He even has, how presidents get jerseys from sports teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
He even has them do number 17 instead of 45.
That's fucking weird.
17 is the letter. 17 is our Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, I guess.
No, seriously, it is, and they love that shit. And he knows it and plays up to it. So he, at the bare minimum, plays up to the Q stuff. He points to it at the rallies. He drops messages in his tweets. I've seen them show it. Real tweets where he'll mention something from a Q post or mention Q or retweet a QAnon person.
Right.
He's the president.
Yeah.
So he could just be completely oblivious and playing up to his fan base.
I think he is. But
I think he's doing that because it's giving him this massive godlike support.
It's helping. Yeah, dude. Like,
yes.
These type of, again, like I said, it's muddying the water. Because, here's the thing. Like, when it comes to, a court of law, if you can just throw some shit out there as a lawyer, you can throw something out that's completely irrelevant, that's off the wall, but it can give the jury reasonable doubt.
Right.
And that's what they're doing.
And then
That's
he's
what he's
convinced
doing.
everyone that he's against the establishment because the establishment's put so much work in going against him.
Right. Well,
So it looks like to them,
and
they hate him.
See, this is what pisses me off so bad. You don't get to be such a fucking unlikable person on purpose and then say that it's only because everybody doesn't like you. Fuck. Sorry.
They think that we're twisting it up, that he's a great guy. I don't know what they think. It's hard for me. I'm rationalizing.
It's like you can always point to that and be like, hey, they just don't like you. Yeah, because you purposely make yourself unlikable on purpose. I know purposely on purpose. But
I don't know what they think. That he's being himself, and maybe, you misspeak daily too. Not to that degree, but sometimes you fuck up and say things wrong. So they give him like a longer leash. I don't know. But I know a lot of really good people that support him.
He's on a fucking leash.
They support him and they believe in him. I think it's weird.
I know, it is. It's strange. And the funny thing is, though, that it almost doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter what he does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
He's gonna, even if, he said, let's take his example, for example.
He could do it.
He could shoot somebody at the corner of Fifth Avenue on national fucking television, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think the news would say? What do you think Fox News would say about that? Oh, it was a black guy, right?
Self-defense.
So he was probably trying, exactly. He was probably trying to rob him anyway, so, or whatever. It's so sad. And so we got this, super, it's solid. The impeachment inquiry, the evidence that they've come from that is he was reaching out to a foreign country to help his political campaign, period. And it doesn't even matter if he held or didn't hold the money. That is meaningless. The fact that he reached out to a foreign country to help him for his political campaign is the crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're not going to see that. They're just going to be like, well, but what about the Bidens?
And they can't, that's again, it's like the victim mentality. We can't allow them to keep doing that, right? It's madness. So this is not going to pass the Senate. We both agree on that, even though we both look at it differently. We both agree it won't. And the reason why is lunacy. It doesn't lie in logic.
Well, it
lies in the fact that Mitch McConnell would never allow it to.
It's the most bold version of tribalism I've ever seen in my fucking life. It's tribalism.
Yeah, well, for the most part, it's the whole thing is like wrestling. It's fake. It's rigged up against us. It's all set to stalemate, like what it's going to do. When Mitch McConnell sets up his roadblock for the whole thing.
Dude, Mitch McConnell's got 400 fucking bills that are bipartisan that he's just sitting on because he doesn't like them. And he's like, hey, I'm not doing my job anymore.
But do you think he's a supervillain? Really, there's an agenda going on. They're keeping this shit from you. The ones that are really in power. Mitch McConnell is not really in power. He represents those that are. And that, for unfortunate reasons, is not us. And until it is, this world is fucked. So Elizabeth Warren can't help us do that. We have to undo this broken system and rebuild it.
I do agree with you on that. I think that Bernie would be fucking phenomenal. Honestly.
And it would inspire so many people to make massive change, which is what needs to happen. Getting rid of Trump doesn't solve any problems. Nothing changes for anybody.
You don't think so?
If you you feel a little better, you sleep a little better. Did your life change? What improved for you? What changed for you?
Well, I'd imagine.
Do you think he even really runs the country?
Well, I'd know that Bernie or somebody else would probably not allow what's happening at the border to happen.
It went on under Obama.
No, it didn't actually to this degree. They had those that the ordinance was put in place, but nobody ever enforced it because they all basically he never said to enforce that because it was just sort of an idea that was on the table. He never implemented taking children from their parents as a form of, trying to dissuade them from crossing the border. He never went through with that. It was Trump that actually, and it was really Sessions that put it into place. And really, it was what's his name? Steve, the one they figured out was an white supremacist just recently.
Steve Bannon.
Well, Bannon, I'm sure he probably had some positive input there.
I know
as
what
well.
you're talking about, though. The guy that's still in the administration.
Yeah, he looks like
that little spear-looking dude. Yeah,
something. I don't.
He looks like a wicked elf or.
Anyway, yeah.
What is his name?
The fucker.
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller, is that it?
Yeah, I think
that might be it. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm so glad you're here.
That's it.
I'm terrible with names. I'm the worst on it, and that's why I'm so bad at politics. Because knowing about politics, all y'all for all y'all out there, learning about politics is nothing but knowing names and what they do, and if they're good or bad. That's it. That's all. That's all politics is. Okay, you don't need to learn the fucking how the structure of anything works. You know why? Because they don't go by that. They make up their own rules. Look at fucking Mitch McConnell, for Christ's sake. So anyway. Sorry, going off on a rant.
But they seriously need to be stopped. Like, we need to. This is why I believe in this revolution that's happening. I believe in that, not politics. Politics is not going to work. It's not going to fix anything. There needs to be massive change.
Yeah.
And there's only one person offering that. So that's who I don't support politics. This whole system needs to be broken down and rebuilt.
I mean, I agree with you, but I sort of disagree because I'm like, yeah, he's somebody who can bring massive change in a fucking basically a revolution. You're right. But I feel like Elizabeth Warren would do that as well. But, they're the only two that are both pretty much lockstep in the Justice Democrat section. That's all we got, dude, is him and her, as far as like Justice Democrats. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I get that you go with him.
You're comparing Raisin Bran Crunch to Great Value Crunch.
It tastes just as good, god damn it. And
put enough sugar on it.
And there's more raisins.
There probably is more raisins. I think you're right about that shit.
There is.
When I went to use it as an analogy, I realized it was probably not a good one. Because the cheap cereals are usually better.
With that one there, I feel that was the worst of me. Should have gone with Honey Nut Cheerios because that one does. That's the only one that tastes like that.
Definitely, because the knockoff Cheerios do not match.
No, they don't. They're terrible.
It's wrong. Something's off about them.
There is. There's just something off. Like you don't know what it is, but it's not Honey Nut Cheerios.
The knockoff Cookie Crisp too is terrible.
Oh, I didn't even know they had a knockoff of that.
Yeah,
I'm sure that makes, of course they have
the Malto Meal, the bag cereals. Yeah.
That's so funny. But hey, man, this was a great time. I had a great time talking with you, man.
This was a lot of fun. I felt like it got intense at times.
Oh no, man! Like, dude, I'm just here to have some beers and talk to people that think differently than me and.
I didn't mean that intense. Like I felt like it was good.
It was awesome. Yeah.
It was an in-depth conversation.
It was perfect. The whole way through. I think we did a pretty good job of representing either of our sides. And
so this was live.
Yeah, it's still live. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Where are we live to?
Yeah. Right now Amy with a Y is watching.
Right. I mean,
what? On Facebook. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're live on Facebook.
Yeah, I tried to do the YouTube thing and it didn't fucking work, man. Apparently,
I wish I'd have known because I would have shared the shit out of it while we were on.
That's shit. Okay,
I didn't even know where we were.
Man, all right. Well,
yeah. No, I would. I'll share the hell out of it after the feed.
See, I'm terrible with all this computer stuff, so I'm like,
no. I am too. Like I learn as I go.
Yeah,
I'm swinging in the dark for the most part.
Right, that's all I'm doing. But I scheduled the shit before I had it figured out. That was probably not the smartest thing to do. I probably should have figured out that YouTube can't even take a call or whatever unless you have this decoder shit or whatever it is. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, they just changed it.
I haven't even attempted it. I want to do phone calls, but I haven't even attempted it.
Yeah, they just switched from it because it's like they're not with Google whatever the Hangouts. and stuff. So I'm not doing that anymore. So now everything's changing. And so now I got to use the encoder in order to go live. And so that's why I just went through Facebook, and I'm like, I'll fucking save the video and share it on YouTube later, but whatever.
Right on. Yeah, and I'll share it like crazy too. I wish I'd have known, because I have some groups on Facebook. I would have let them know to share it. But that's cool.
Well, hey, share it. Like, you can share it.
I will.
Share it around.
No doubt. I'll get myself thrown in Facebook jail over it.
I think so.
Oh, I'm always in sharing jail. No, I've never been in real Facebook jail.
I haven't either. I messed
But
up
I've been
one
in
time.
sharing jail about 12 times.
Because every time I share my episode of Unapologetics, please go listen to Unapologetics, folks, and go watch Conspiracies and Chill with Shawn Yankey.
Yeah, go to Me on Things and Stuff on YouTube, and that's where all of my stuff is.
It's Me on Things and Stuff.
Me on Things and Stuff. That's the best name for a YouTube channel ever.
I can dig it, dude.
Right? No, I don't know why I did that.
That's
the name of it. Because I thought it was clever. Because it's me
clever.
on Things and Stuff, right?
That's cool.
So I felt like it worked good. But that's the channel, and I put all my shows there. So, and the Bernie one doesn't go over very well with the conspiracy crowd, but they all intermingle on that channel. It's the best place to follow me.
I was going to say, because it used to be the Daily Burn, and then it turned to Conspiracies Chill.
The Daily Burn is still every day, dude. Just nobody watches it anymore.
Oh. Yeah, you're going to get more people.
I don't mean to say that. I love that show, but it has fell off a lot. I think it's because it's throttled.
Yeah.
We went from a big turnout. We went from like we still do it every day, though.
No shit.
That's
really?
Every day.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, everybody
It's hard to keep up with.
Really? Yeah, I could imagine. Like, I could do a show every day. I can barely do one once every fortnight. That's crazy. But no, thank you so much for coming on.
I had a great time.
Me too. This was a great. Yeah,
You're gonna have to come on for something sometime for me.
Oh yeah, anytime, dude. I'm here.
We'll
I love doing this.
What conspiracy you would want to talk about, or what thing you would want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
That's a good question. Yeah. I love so many. It's hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. We could do that and just have fun. That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. But well, again, thank you all for watching. This has been what did I call it? The Happy Debating Atheist. That's why. Oh, that's it. The Happy Debating Atheist. Okay, that's what I'm going with. Fuck it. I need debating and atheist in the same thing so that people can know what they're looking for.
Did you tag me in this post?
I will tag you. I thought I did though. I did.
I didn't even know where we were, so you might have.
Yeah, I think it is tagged, so you're good. You should be good.
Okay, cool. Because I'm going to share the hell out of it right after this.
Cool. All right.
Thanks everybody for watching, by the way.
Seriously, thank y'all. I mean, we're down to one, but.
Oh, don't worry about that, because Facebook Live lives in the future.
Right? That's so cool.
We're going to find out that you're going to get most of your views after the fact.
No shit.
Really? Oh, yeah, because I'll come out of a live feed with like 40, 50 views, and then the next day it'll have like 300, 400.
Wow.
You're going to get most of them after the fact. Your live viewers don't base anything on that.
Yeah, that's good, because they'd have to be available at the same. Yeah, I get what you say. Yeah, that makes sense.
As long as you're leaving them up, people are going to watch them, and I'm going to share the hell out of it. So
cool. All right, man. Well,
thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, man. And we got to schedule this again. I'd really love to have you back. Seriously.
I feel like we could have took anything for the whole time. Right. Any of those subjects. We covered like so many things. I'm dizzy.
We did. I know, right? I don't even know what we talked about. Like, if you asked me, like, what was this up? Like, if I had to write a description right now of what the video was actually about, I'd be fucking lost, man.
Right. I know. I got to listen to it again after this to find out what we even said. I know we talked about a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
I had a good time.
Cool, man. Well, again, thank you so much. And we got, like I said, we'll do this again. I'll definitely come on your show, and I will keep you guys informed. You guys informed of when I'm going to do that. So, all right. Well, this was another edition of the Happy Debating Atheists with Brently. I guess I should add that with Brently. All right. Thanks.